Hello, and welcome to Library Lab Notes, the show that provides insight into all things information literacy in the sciences. I'm your host, Virginia.
And I'm your host, Eric.
And today we're going to introduce you to three of our colleagues in Cameron Library.
It's very exciting.
You're going to meet three new people, Allison, Grace, and Chris. They do a variety of really interesting work with a lot of variation. So this is your chance to learn about some of those things that staff do in the library that you may not know about. Because I know a lot of people picture all of us shelving books all day, which is important work that should not be diminished at all. It's actually its own special unit and often staffed by students. But it's not the only thing that happens in the library.
No, far from it.
Right? Let's get into it.
Today we're talking to someone who might be familiar to students in engineering, Allison Henry.
Hi, my name is Allison Henry. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a subject librarian for engineering at the University of Alberta Library. I have been in this role for 4 years now, almost exactly. I started this particular job August 1st, 2017.
Hello, Allison, and welcome. Thank you for chatting with me today. So for our first question in the interview, we just wanted to know, what does your current role look like on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. A typical day for me involves a mix of activities, answering questions from students or faculty who are looking for information resources for their research. I'm often participating in meetings with colleagues in the library or from other parts of campus. I also work on projects such as research impact reports. And depending on the time of year, you will often find me planning for presentations I give in different classes.
Well, what's something right now that you are loving to do in your work, the highlight of your work right now?
I don't know if this is a right now thing, but generally what I really love about my work is helping someone learn something new that will improve their studies or their research. And so it could be something about the way some of our resources work. It could be helping them learn about a service they didn't know the library offered. I really like helping people make the connection between a question they have and a way to find the answer. And as a bonus, I often get to learn something new too.
Yes, I understand completely. I love running through new resources and being like, oh, okay, this makes sense now.
Well, and plus there are so many different types of research happening on our campus. And in the Cameron Science and Technology Library, we get questions from so many different areas, right? It's really fascinating to hear about the work that is going on here.
Absolutely. Just to understand it then, it's not just the question asking that you love to do, it's the teaching people how to have those questions answered.
Yes, I want them to be better able to answer their own questions in the future, right? I want them to walk away with a better understanding of how information is organized and what options are out there to address some of these questions. So whenever I feel like that happens, when something really clicks for someone, it's a good day.
Well, moving on to the probably more challenging question to answer, what do you like the least right now, or in general, about your role?
This one is definitely a right now answer, because what I find really challenging is the days when I have many Zoom meetings, for example. I find that I can handle up to 3 in a day, especially if they're a bit longer. But once we get into 4 or more, I am just wiped out. I feel really drained if there are too many of them. So luckily, it's rare for me to have days that are entirely filled with meetings. So it doesn't come up too often. But yeah, that's been a particular pandemic challenge for me, for sure.
For those of you who aren't aware, this is definitely being recorded on a Zoom meeting. So we're helping contribute. What is a current project that you're working on you are excited about? Bonus points if it's a project you think students might not necessarily know you're a part of.
This is a tough one for me. I don't know if I have anything going on right now that would be very interesting to students, to be honest with you. But one thing that I have really found interesting lately is getting to work more closely with some of our collections colleagues. The budget cuts that we've been under have really forced us to take an even deeper look than we might normally at our engineering resources and finding the areas of overlap and identifying the resources that really aren't seeing the use that would justify keeping them on in these conditions. And that is something that happens as a normal part of my job anyway, but it's just at a little bit of an extra level right now. And I am finding it very interesting, even if it is under challenging circumstances.
Is there anything in that work that surprised you in terms of something you thought would have seen more use?
Well, what I find especially interesting is looking at the different types of use. So one of the projects I've been involved in was examining a particular large journal collection, all the journals from a particular publisher. And what we did was look at both the use that is measured by downloads and views of articles, but we also looked at the publications of University of Alberta authors and how many of them are publishing in these journals. And we also looked at how many University of Alberta authors are citing articles that appear in these journals. So it's looking at that whole combination, all of those different types of use. And you can really see some interesting groupings. You can see some journals that see a lot of use, as indicated by our views and downloads, and almost no citations, which to me implies that these are resources that are being used more by undergraduate students or people on campus who aren't as involved in publishing, but that's still a very important type of use to support on our campus. And so so this has been really interesting to me to look at all these different measures.
I don't know. I think that's very interesting too. Well, the last theme to talk about here. What is the most important thing for returning students to know about this year?
I really want students to know they have options. Some people may be very eager to get back to campus and to work in person on classwork and projects, and some are not going to be able to do that. And I really want students to know that in the library, we are here to help them either way. We are still going to be providing service virtually. You don't have to physically be here to get help from us. But of course, if you are on campus, we are here to help you too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for all of these random questions.
Sure thing.
We really appreciate having you here.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Our next interview is with Grace. Grace, welcome to our podcast. We are really, really excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
We're just going to find out a little bit more information about you. I was wondering if you could just let me know what you prefer for your pronouns and what is your job title?
Her or she. And my job title is Information Services Specialist at Cameron Library.
And how long have you been at Cameron?
A very long time. In this current position since 2007. Prior to that, I actually worked upstairs behind the scenes. So this was a nice change.
Grace, you have always been like the one person I have known since my very start at U of A. And it always makes me excited to see you.
Thank you very much.
What does your day-to-day work look like?
Pretty much my day revolves around either on the service desk or online chat. So working with the students, answering their questions can be anything from where's the washroom to I want to do a systems analysis. How do I proceed? And anything and everything in between that.
What is it about your day-to-day that you love the best?
What I love the best is that interaction with the students, especially when you're teaching them something new and they get that little glint in their eye and you think, yes, they understand what I'm saying, and just giving them the skills to move forward and be able to facilitate what they need to do on their own. And there's that moment of, yes, this is what I'm here for.
Oh, that is absolutely incredible. Do you have anything that you don't love the most?
In that same fold, it's students who ask a question and then proceed to not listen, or they're slowly walking away and you're thinking, hold on a minute, I have this wealth of knowledge I want to give you, and you're walking away, come back. That can be a little bit irritating at times.
I legitimately understand that 100%. Yeah. But also, I love how you have like such an amazing repertoire with the students.
It's the one thing that I've missed over the course of being home is that you don't have that face-to-face acquaintance with certain students who, when they see you, they know you and they come back to you all the time. Like either it's a follow-up or even it's a new question. but they know you and they know that you can give them the information that they require, or at least point them in the right direction. And not doing that this past 18 months has been difficult. It's very hard to judge somebody on chat as to whether they understand or not what it is you're explaining to them. That is a tremendous hurdle to overcome, because not everybody communicates that they understand what you're telling them.
I can see that too. Can you also tell me what is something you wish people knew about the library?
We offer so much more than what they think. So many people come thinking all we do is pull a book off a shelf and hand it to them and sign it out on their account, when we have this wealth of knowledge that if they would just ask the right question or just communicate better what it is they need, we're just here to help. Yeah.
That's amazing. So kind of a little bit along that, I know you do some fabulous sort of side projects, research projects, some fun stuff. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about one aspect of your work that you think the students might not know a huge amount about.
There's a number of things that I do, from scheduling to business tutorials to signage and communication. But currently we have been working, and it's not just myself, it's a group of people who have been working on creating a press book for 3D certification. It's a module where students can go online and get certified to understand the safety and the protocols and the proper use of 3D printers. For the most part, upstairs in the Digital Scholarship Center, because our service down on the main floor is still mediated. But we've been writing this, and it's interesting to do this. And then I'm writing about STL files, and I'm thinking, I did a deep dive into that, right? And you come up with all this information, more than you ever thought you could possibly find. And it's quite interesting. And I don't think the students realize just how much time and effort goes into creating these projects so that when they come in and they want to do something, and they have to go through this online training, there's so much more background work that has been done than just clicking on a button saying yes or no. So I hope they appreciate it when they come.
I bet they will. Can you tell me a bit more about the 3D printing?
The Cameron Library has in the past provided 3D printing to students and faculty. The main floor has Persia machines, which we mediate that service, meaning that they send us their files, we evaluate them, and then we go ahead and initiate the start of those print jobs. Once they're done, we communicate to them that they are done and ready for pickup. Alternatively, upstairs in the DSC, they have alt makers, which this module that we're writing or the certification module that we're writing is going to facilitate them actually coming in and actually being able to initiate the print job and then follow through on it. But we've seen a number of different projects come in. Some of the most fascinating are actually from art students, or we've had a couple of professors from medical sciences who need certain elements in their lab just to make their life a little easier. So they come up with these ideas of brackets or holders or for test tubes and such like. And it just, it's neat to see the final project, but it's even better to see the final project when it's actually installed in the lab and they're utilizing it. And then you think, wow, this is worth it.
That's incredible. I never would have realized how much the 3D printing brings almost all of the different disciplines across campus together.
Oh, yeah. It just brings everybody in one spot because everybody's kind of thinking of out of the box, like, how can we make things better? If we 3D printed this, could we make it so that it's more useful? And just, it's that blossoming of ideas that you actually get to see manifest into an actual print object. And there's something very creative about the whole process. I think that's what drew me to it.
That is absolutely amazing. Grace, I have to admit, you always have the funnest stuff to talk to me about, and I really appreciate it. And I was just going to say thank you for being a part of our podcast today. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Thank you very much for asking me. I appreciate it. It's been fun. I can't off the top of my head think of anything else that I want to contribute other than we are here. Ask us your questions.
That is absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Grace. It has been wonderful to have you with us.
Fun fact, the Andean condor is the largest flying bird with wingspans of up to 3 meters wide. Andean condors enjoy soaring around and eating carrion. Yum, yum.
So our final interview today is with Chris, where he's going to talk not just about his experiences working at the library, but what happens when a popular service comes to an end.
My name is Chris Bateman. I use he, him pronouns. I am an ISS, which is an Information Services Specialist at the Cameron Library, and I've been working here for 5 years.
Chris, thank you for coming on the podcast, and thank you for chatting with us about some of the interesting things that kind of happen behind the scenes. First, what does your day-to-day work look like?
Why don't I give a small example of what my day like has been thus far? I opened the library today. I got here at 7:45. As I was pulling up to open up the door to let myself in, a student stopped me who wanted to get in. They want to get in before 8. Student stopped me and said, "Did you just get out of bed?" I thought that was really, really wild. I was like, okay, yes, but Anyway, so I opened the library, which involves coming in, unlocking copious amounts of doors, turning on all the staff computers that we need, turning on all the lights, that sort of thing. My first shift of the day was a chat shift. So I sat at a computer and answered questions from students. I was also doing that chat service thing on the service desk. So while I was doing that, I was also helping people live and direct with their information needs. So that's part of my day. That's what I've done so far. And then when my desk shift was over, I work on what we call off-desk jobs. I have a number of jobs that are assigned to me that I work on when I'm not helping people at the service desk. Some of those jobs are like, I work on the 3D printing team. I also have to go through chat transcripts and code them so that we can determine like how many chat questions were about, reference services, how many were about books, how many were about checkouts, how many were about whatever. So I do that sort of thing. And there's just lots of, a small handful of 5 or 6 tasks that I have to do when I'm not working on desk. And then a couple hours from then I will go back on desk and then probably finish out my day on desk. That's a typical day.
So on a day like today, what would you say has been your favorite part of it?
So I'm an extrovert and I love helping people. So being on the service desk, chopping it up with students and helping them find their stuff. I like working with the students.
Okay, now taking it to the exact opposite place, what is the first thing you would get rid of in your job if you could? What is the thing
I saw that question. I was like, I'm not going to answer that. Can I plead the fifth? Not in these tough economic times. Can I say how I really feel? But I don't know, coming back from working from home and then working from work, my least favorite part of the job is waking up in the morning at the time that I now have to wake up at. I
respect that.
Which is, nothing. I love the job, love getting here, but that's been a change. When that guy asked me today did you just get out of bed? I was like, rude and yes, rude and accurate.
You're also working on a project to close down the library's laptop lending service. Could you tell us a bit about that?
I suppose it was initially considered a service that we can stop because of the pandemic, but the final nail on the coffin towards this service being ended was the latest provincial budget cuts that affected post-secondary institutions. So we are no longer lending out laptops and other types of peripherals like computer chargers or phone chargers, which was a big part of what we did in the last 2 years, I'd say. This year, students coming back aren't able to borrow laptops or chargers. So we have been getting a bunch of questions about that. We are still going to be lending cameras like video cameras and point and click cameras or whatever you call them. So we do have some equipment, but one of my big tasks right now is on the back end of that program closing. I have to, liaising with our cataloging team and our IT department to get all those laptops that we used to lend out to students, get them back from the libraries that they were at, to pull them out of the catalog, to find new homes for them if they can be used elsewhere. One thing that I'm just noticing happen, I asked all of the other libraries to send their laptops and their mouses and their headphones back to us. It's a lot of like spreadsheet work. It's a lot of like looking at, the long list of inventory of the equipment we used to lend and making sure that everything's accounted for. So that things haven't gone missing over the duration of the pandemic. So it's a lot of work to get that back. Our ITS team has been really, really helpful doing a lot of the like data sorting to sort of suss out which exact pieces of equipment have to come back. It's not like the most exciting work, but yeah, it's necessary when a program gets closed out like this.
it sounds like it's more than just taking laptops then off the shelves and then getting rid of them or removing barcodes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for my part, it's mostly just making sure they are no longer in the catalog. Things can be in the catalog and still be like hidden from public view. So we obviously want to do more than just hide them from public view. We want to delete the catalog records. And that's what our IT team is doing. But yeah, somebody needs to sort of be in the middle of the IT team who's doing all that data deletion and actually getting the pieces back from all the libraries. So that's what myself and a colleague, Bernard, and I are doing.
What would you say in terms of the time commitment a project like this can end up taking from you?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you think about, our laptop lending program ended shortly after we got sent home to work from home. So let's say it was like, I don't know, May. Let's say it ended in May of 2020. There were students that still had laptops signed out to them they needed for their work. So we just let them have those laptops for essentially the duration of the pandemic. At some point when we started opening up to have things returned to us, we started to talk to the students who did have laptops, and we were like, let's talk about when these can come back. So I have been pulling laptops or trying to get laptops back from people that still had them out for months now. So it is sort of like a slow process.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate when a service comes to an end. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Chris. That was great.
Now I realize that everything I said was sad. We're killing this. I said final nail on a coffin. I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, our viewers need to get that emotional range out of this podcast. They need to laugh. They need to cry. They need to wonder, if you just got out of bed this morning. Well, thank you, Chris. That was really great. Thank you for chatting with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. And thank you for taking us through what happens when, due to provincial government budget cuts, we end up losing out on a major service or on a popular service like laptop lending.
Thanks for listening to Library Lab Notes with your host, me, Virginia, and my co-host, Eric. Thanks to our production team, Heather, Jessica, and Lauren, for making this episode happen. And of course, to our incredible guests, Allison, Grace, and Chris. We appreciate you so much. We hope that you got a better sense of what we do here in the library, and mostly just got to know us better in general. A huge special thanks to Heather, who joined us during her practicum this fall. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. You will be truly missed, and we wish you all of the best. Stay tuned for more episodes in the new year. Maybe they will even be released monthly. As always, you can head over to our webpage, as well as check out all of the links and resources in the show notes.
That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time. Hello, and welcome to Library Lab Notes,
the show that provides insight into all things Cameron Library. Eric, where are you? You're not talking.
My computer froze. It froze when I was trying to do it.